Hello dear students, welcome to sj'sclasses. In this video lesson, I will discuss yet another important Malayalam poet, Satchidanandan, and one of his popular poems, an English translation actually, How to Go to the Tao Temple. If you haven't yet watched my video lessons on other important poets in Malayalam literature, please do watch it. And if you think that those video lessons are enlightening enough, please do share it with other scholars in the field. So let's have a very brief introduction to the poet Satchidanandan. Koyamparambatu Satchidanandan was born on 20th of May 1946. He is a noted Indian poet and critic, writing in Malayalam and English. A pioneer of modern poetry in Malayalam, he is a bilingual literary critic, playwright, editor, columnist, and translator. He was born in Pulluth village in the Thrissur district of Kerala. He worked as a university teacher until he joined Sahitya Academy as the editor of the literary journal Indian Literature. From 1996 until 2006, he was secretary of the academy. He then returned to teaching, retiring as director and professor of the School of Translation Studies and Training at the Indira Gandhi National Open University in New Delhi in 2011. He has also worked briefly as the language policy consultant to the Government of India. He currently resides at Delhi and devotes a large share of his time to writing and lecturing, apart from editing the Malayalam literary journal Kerala Kavitha. Satchidanandan began writing in the 1960s as a modernist. His literary career began with the publication of Kurukshetram, a collection of essays on poetry in 1970. Satchidanandan's early poems were highly experimental, and the publication of his first collection, Suryan, which can be translated into English as Five Suns, that came out in 1971, was an important event in Malayalam literature. The same year, he launched Jwala, which can be translated into English as Flame, which is an avant-garde journal dedicated to experimental writing. He has more than 50 books in Malayalam, including 21 poetry collections and an equal number of translations of poetry, as well as plays, essays, travelogues, and 4 critical works in English. His recent poems are marked by their preoccupation with questions of cultural identity, gender justice, ecological literacy, and subaltern consciousness. Some of his important poetic works include Suryan, Kavitha, Venal Mala, Kavi Buddhan, Malayalam, Vikku, Baharubi, Samskarathinte Rashtriyam, Muhurthangal, Adithattugal. Satchidanandan was one of the pioneers of modern poetry in Malayalam and is well known for the subtle and nuanced articulations of socio-political context in his poetry. Critics have noted narrativity, irony, and philosophical contemplation on the contradictions of existence as decisive elements in his poetry. A torchbearer of the socio-cultural revolution that redefined Malayalam literature in the 1970s and 80s, Satchidanandan has always advocated the rights of the oppressed, minorities, marginalized castes and classes and women. He is a pioneer in women's studies in Malayalam and is famous for his coinage of the term Pennezhuthu in reference to women's writings. His works have also been translated into Arabic, Assamese, Bengali, English, French, German, Gujarati, Hindi, Kannada, Marathi, Oriya, Punjabi, Swedish, Tamil, Telugu and Urdu. In turn, through translation, he has broadened the readership of many world poets and enriched the resources of Malayalam poetry. He is also the winner of 35 awards, prizes and honors, which include 4 Kerala Sahitya Academy Awards for poetry, drama, travel writing and criticism. 3 national awards, the Friendship Medal from the Government of Poland, a Knighthood of the Order of Merit from the Government of Italy, and a Dante Medal from Italy. So this is a brief introduction to the poet. Now let's move into the poem, How to Go to the Tao Temple. Satchidanandan's poetry is basically an expression of the poet's complex and conflict-ridden subjectivity. It is a place, one might say, where the language of the self meets and merges with the voices of the other. The poem, How to Go to the Tao Temple, which was originally titled in Malayalam as Tao Kshetrathil Pogendadingene, and which came out in 1994, was originally included in the collection Malayalam, is an illustration of this. Tao Temple, as you know, is a place of worship in Taoism. It's of Chinese origin, and this concept can be regarded both as a religion and a philosophy. The poem in its totality is a list of do's and don'ts that you must follow while or when you visit a Tao temple. The poem is actually addressed to or dedicated to D.R. Nagaraj. He is an Indian cultural critic, a political commentator, and an expert of Kannada poetry. He is also a recipient of Sahitya Academy Award. So the poem begins with this address to D.R. Nagaraj. Let's read the poem. Don't lock the door, go lightly like the leaf in the breeze along the dawn's valley. If you are too fair, cover yourself with ash. If too clever, go half asleep. That which is fast will tire fast. Be slow, slow as stillness. So let's look at this very first stanza. The poet says, don't lock the door. Don't lock the door of your house when you go to the Tao temple. Go lightly like a leaf in the breeze along the dawn's valley. You must visit the place, you must visit the temple in great silence. You can actually see a simile over there, how your movement along the path to the temple must be like that of a leaf that is carried by the breeze. He says you must visit the temple in great silence, just like a leaf falling down in the breeze during the dawn time. If you are too fair, cover yourself with ash. Probably the poet is trying to convey that you must use less embellishments on you. You don't need to be very fair when you visit this temple. So if you are too fair, cover yourself with ash. If too clever, go half asleep. Probably the poet is intending that you must not go there to criticize the place or to criticize the followers or to criticize the practices that are being followed there, the rituals that are being followed there. So if you are too clever to do all these things, go half asleep. Go there in a half asleep state so that you won't respond to many of the things that happen there. That which is fast, be slow, slow as stillness. Do not visit the place in a hurry-burry. Be calm and quiet and do the visit at the least possible pace. Let's also read next few lines. Be formless like water. Lie low. Don't even try to go up. Don't go round the deity. Nothingness has no directions, no front, no back. Don't call it by name. Its name has no name. No offerings. Empty pots are easier to carry than full ones. No prayers too. Desires have no place here. So as I said in the beginning, the poem in its totality is a list of do's and don'ts that you need to follow while visiting this temple. So let's look at the next list. He says, be formless like water. Be formless as water. So you don't have to impress anyone with your form, with your looks there. So be formless like water. Lie low, don't even try to go upward. Probably the poet is trying to say that you need to be humble, very humble when you visit the place. You don't need to express what you are, or you don't need to convey your political or social status. Don't go around the deity. Nothingness has no directions. Probably the poet is trying to point at the omniscient status of God, the ever-pervading nature of God. You don't have to go around the deity. You don't have to go around the God, because He is present everywhere. Nothingness has no directions, no front, no back. Don't call it by name. So probably my interpretation is that the identity that man has attributed to God, the names that we have attributed to God, are useless there. And that's why probably the poet says, don't call it by a name, its name has no name. So probably all these names have been attributed to these supernatural forces by man, and all these names are quite insignificant there. And also no offerings. You don't have to make any offerings there. Empty pots are easier to carry than full ones. So this place is such a sacred divine place that it's better to go there empty-handed. Probably the poet is trying to intend the fact that maybe, perhaps, you will return with a filled pot. No offerings, empty pots are easier to carry than full ones. No prayers either. Desires have no place here. So this is not a place for offerings or prayer. Now both these intend at our desire for something. But unfortunately, this place does not take offerings or desires or prayers. This place is not for sharing our desires or for getting your desires materialized. So you don't need to carry any offerings with you, and also you don't have to pray over there. That is all in this video lesson. In the next video lesson, which is part 2 of this part 2 of my discussion on how to go to the Tao Temple, I will discuss the remaining stanzas. Thank you so much for watching.